Konnichiwa. Hyvää päivää in Finnish. First, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the General Director of NIER for inviting us here today, Tokyo. It's great to be here. So my name is Pia Kolatorvinen, and I'm Counselor of Education from Finnish National Agency of Education, and I'm also Professor of Practice at University of Turku. And today my presentation focuses on student and teachers' well-being in Finnish education. So how we support and how our system works. And these materials I share today have been prepared in collaboration with Professor Maria-Kristiina Lerkkanen at the University of Jyväskylä, who was supposed to be here today. So as a starting point, many of you may have seen that Finland is often ranked the happiest country in the world. We have held the top position for 8 years in a row, and this ranking comes from the World Happiness Report, which looks at factors such as quality of life, social support, trust in institutions, safety, education, and the overall sense of well-being. So, while happiness is of course a personal and cultural concept, Finland's model shows how long-term investment in education, welfare, and trust can create the conditions for people to thrive. So first of all, I want to highlight some of the key reasons behind Finland's model and how we show long-term investment in education. So Finland has been at the top of several OECD surveys for many years, including PISA and PIRLS for younger students, and PIACC, which looks at adult skills. And these results show that Finland performs well across all age groups, not only in the part of the system. One of the essential reasons for this success is that almost all Finnish schools are public. This means that every child, regardless of their family background, has access to high-quality education. Education is free of charge for families from pre-primary to higher education, so there are no financial barriers to learning. It is also typical for Finland that there are no school inspections and no national testing at the comprehensive school level. Instead of external control, we rely on trust. Teachers and schools are given responsibility, and they are expected to act professionally without some constantly checking on them. So schools are across the country equal, and parents do not need to worry about choosing the right school. This equality also helps support social cohesion, and Finland places a strong emphasis on early recognition of learning difficulties and timely support for children who need it. The idea is to intervene early rather than wait for small problems to become big ones. And another important point is that Finnish schools offer free school meals, as here in Japan, to every child, every day. This has been a part of our system for a long time. And finally, it is worth mentioning that instruction time in Finland is relatively low compared to many other countries but still our learning outcomes are quite high, and this success that quality matters more than quantity. And perhaps most importantly, Finnish teachers are extremely well prepared. All teachers hold a master's degrees from a university, and teacher education is academically demanding. And as a result, teachers are trusted professionals with significant autonomy to choose teaching methods and adapt instruction to their students' needs. So let's look at a little bit about background of the education policies that we have in these days. So we have every time that we choose new government, we have this government program. And nowadays our government program includes several goals to strengthen well-being in schools. First, there is focus on better learning support, ensuring students get help they need while reducing unnecessary administrative work for teachers. And the program also aims to strengthen teachers' and principals' authority in dealing with disruptive behavior, including possible limits on mobile phone use during the school days. And another key point is guaranteeing a safe learning environment for every child, making sure that school peace is maintained everywhere. Also, well-being is promoted through broad cooperation between well-being services, counties, municipalities, schools, and other partners. Yes, and finally, a cross-sector physical activity program will encourage active lifestyle and improve children's functional capacity. Overall, all these measures aim to support both learning and student well-being in a comprehensive way. Then we have this Basic Education Act, and as you can see, this is quite old, but we have renewed that a little bit by step, so it holds a long period that we haven't renewed whole our Basic Education Act. So the Basic Education Act is the foundation of comprehensive education, and everything starts with the child's best interest. And our education, as I said, support pupils' growth into humanity and ethically responsibly membership of society. And also in the Act, they say that teaching must be organized according to the pupils' age and capabilities, promoting healthy growth and development. And every school, they have this meal also. And to support families, pupils can take part in supervised morning and afternoon activities before or after the school day. And then children have right to receive also the learning support as soon as they need, not after they have already fallen behind. And also this Act emphasizes safety, and our schools works closely with psychologists, social workers, and health services. And when necessary, school can use certain disciplinary measures to maintain a safe environment for everyone. And our education providers must evaluate their own work and take part in national evaluations. And the evaluation purpose is to ensure quality and support development, not to rank the schools against each others. We have an organization office called the Finnish Education Evaluation Center, which is coordinate this evaluation work. And the key findings are made public, while individual school-level results remain confidential. And in Finland, our approach to evaluate is developmental. And that means that the purpose of evaluation is not to rank schools or create competition. Instead, the aim is to give school and education providers useful feedback that helps them improve. Developmental evaluation highlights what is working well, identifies challenges, and support long-term evidence-based development. Then we have this national curriculum, who is guiding providers and school. And what is in our core curriculum inside the well-being issues? So in Finland, we see well-being and learning is completely connected. And school must build an operation culture that supports pupils' holistic well-being, not just academically, but socially, emotionally, and physically. A safe and encouraged environment is essential. Well-being is also supported through teaching activities, such as emotional skills, health education, and physical education. And pupils are expected to participate in planning and developing school activities because feeling included is part of well-being. So we heard about these 21st century skills. This is 21st century skills in our curriculum. We called it transversal competencies, and our core curriculum places an emphasis on transversal competencies in instructions. The aims sets for transversal competencies including thinking and learning to learn, cultural competence, interaction and self-expression, taking care of oneself and managing daily life, multiliteracy, ICT competence, working life competence, and participation, involvement, and building a sustainable future. So, pupils learn to take care of themselves, work with others, manage everyday life, and build confidence as learners. So, let's look at what actions we have been taken. To improve learning outcomes, Finland increase lesson hours in key subjects and reform learning support across all education levels. So schools are encouraged to promote physical activity also, and new rules now limit mobile phone use to help students focus. And the measures aim to strengthen both learning and well-being. At the national agency, we involved in many initiatives. We prepared materials to help schools address loneliness and social exclusion. We support anti-bullying and safety work, including extensive grants and training for school leaders. We have also recommendations for children on the use of digital devices, which has been completed in this year. And the recommendation includes that personal smartphones not recommended for children under age of 13. So this is recommendation for the parents. There is also Finnish model for leisure activities, which provides thousands of hobby groups across the country. You may know Schools on the Move, which promotes an active school day, and the National Literacy Program, which strengthens multiliteracy and reading motivation. We also developing models for parental support and digital well-being. And next look at how we measured pupil well-being. So our main tool is the School Health Promotion Survey, which is conducted every 2 years. The topics of the questionnaire are living condition, schoolwork, health, health-related behavior, and school health services. And it's collect information, students' health, mental well-being, safety, and also the school engagement. And it gives opportunity to monitor trends and assess differences in well-being between genders and different areas. I mean municipalities and different schools also. In schools, these results can be utilized in planning and evaluating of health education and cooperation between different professionals and students. And also these results are utilized in research and in different welfare programs, strategies, and policies. So we ask from children how their well-being are. And we also combine this survey with teacher survey, so we can see how teachers feel and how children feel. So the latest results show that most students feel they are in a good health and are generally satisfied with their lives. Support from adults is needed for health-promoting lifestyle, as only a small proportion of children and young people both have breakfast and exercise and sleep enough. Many enjoy studying and feel they can talk with their parents about personal matters, and boys were more commonly satisfied with their lives than girls. So we have also several other tools, such as student welfare plan, which focus on preventive work. Each education provider must have this kind of student welfare plan that outlines actions to promote well-being both students and school community. Then we have this TEA pointer. It is national benchmarking tool that shows how municipality, well-being service counties, and schools promote health and well-being. It collects data mainly from municipalities through survey and also from comprehensive schools that have given permission to participate. The service combines these responses with official statistical data. And then we have this environment assessment that take place every 3 years. So every school has to have this kind of assessment. And these help schools and municipalities systematically monitor and improve well-being. And here is few programs that we have to improve well-being in the schools. So Schools in the Move, I think that is in Japan in few schools also. And then we have this National Literacy Program, which support reading and multiliteracy across all age groups. And let's move into Finnish teachers' occupational well-being. So teaching is demanding, and it's not surprise that teachers experience high stress. In Finland, about 40% report frequent stress, but a large majority also say that they feel excited about their work. So it's a profession with both high demands and high meaning. And when we talk about teachers' well-being in research, we often focus on two things: work engagement and burnout. Work engagement means that teachers feel full of energy, commitment, and really absorbed in what they are doing. Burnout, in contrast, shows up as teachers being extremely tired, cynical, and feeling that they are not doing enough, no matter how hard they try. If we look at these results, we can clearly see that the impact of COVID-19 years. Burnout kept rising throughout 2020 and 2021, but from spring 23 onwards, it started to decline quite steadily. And work engagement took a bit longer to recover, and it didn't begin to rise until since the trend has been clearly upward. Spring 24, but since then the trend has been clearly upward. Basic psychological needs refer to three core psychological requirements that are essential for well-being and optimal functioning: the need for autonomy, competence, and relatedness. In short, teachers' psychological need satisfaction has improved over time, especially in competence and relatedness. Frustration in this area has gone down. The only challenge was autonomy. Frustration there stayed high throughout the period and even rose above satisfaction during the COVID years. But since 22, autonomy frustration has finally started to decline. The result shows that teachers' ability to recover during their free time has improved. Recovery here means being able to mentally detach from work, relax, do meaningful activities like hobbies, and feel in control of their own time. The sense of meaning in work has also strengthened. Although there were some fluctuations earlier, since autumn 24, teachers have reported a clear in how purposeful their work feels. We also saw a drop in tasks that teachers feel are unnecessary or not part of their core role. Since spring 24, the tasks have decreased, allowing teachers to focus more on their actual teaching. And turnover intentions give us an important view of teachers' well-being and how attractive the profession feels. According to the results, these intentions have stayed quite stable over time. Many teachers say they have thought about leaving the profession, but far fewer have done so. And a very important finding is that teachers' well-being is strongly linked to the quality of teacher-student interactions. When teachers are engaged and feeling well, classroom interactions improve, and this directly supports student engagement and learning. And the teacher union in Finland has proposed several measures, such as smaller class size, more resource teachers, clearer ratios for special education, and more time for collaboration. And these are all aimed at improving teachers' working conditions and ultimately students' well-being. So to wrap up, well-being and learning are deeply connected. At the center of this model is a student well-being, which is influenced by several key factors. One major contributor is parents' education level and well-being, which affects the emotional, social and academic support students receive at home. Another important factor is teachers' well-being and teachers' belief their own competence. Student well-being flows directly into motivation and engagement. Students who feel safe, supported, and capable are more motivated to learn and more willing to participate actively in school tasks. Positive, respectful, and supportive interactions strengthen both teachers' and students' well-being, while negative or conflict-filled interaction can increase stress for both groups. Teachers' well-being itself is shaped by well-being of the principal, who influence school climate, workload distribution, and leadership support system. And teachers who feel motivated and psychologically well are more likely to build strong relationships and foster effective learning environment, which further enhances student engagement. And this model shows that well-being is not an isolated phenomenon. It's a dynamic system where family, school leadership, teacher competence, and classroom relationships all interact to influence how well students learn. Thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu.